Hi, welcome to the Semantics lecturette about denotations. Denotation, in one sense, is just a way of expressing what the interpretation of a linguistic expression is. So it's a term that's used a lot, and it can be thought of as being distinct from connotation. So the denotation would be the semantic meaning, and the connotation would be kind of emotional meaning that is tied in some way, often very direct, to the semantic meaning. What is the denotation of an expression? Well, that's what we're trying to get, that's what we're trying to understand. And for very simple expressions, many of them express objects in the world in a fashion that we call reference. So the word Kansas, or Pharrell, or the dog on the corner, or Ronaldo, all these names of individual things or people or objects. These are thought to denote objects in the world by pointing them out. And there's a lot of philosophical debate over whether these expressions actually refer to the objects themselves or to some layer or some model in our minds that mediates between the real objects and us. And we're going to gloss over that completely. We're just going to assume a direct referential analysis for our purposes. But if you want to get into that debate, you're welcome to do so. So what would an example of a denotation be? Well, let's take a simple expression. The word Kansas denotes the state. That is to say, this is the state. Right? Well, no, not quite. This is the word Kansas. It is not Kansas. We want it to mean Kansas. And let's say that this is Kansas. I'll draw a picture of it. This is Kansas. And it'll stand in for the actual physical location. This is not this. These are not the same thing. And this is an important point when we're talking about denotation. This is the word that refers to this. Or to take, let's say, another example. The sun. The sun refers to the big gaseous ball of fusion at the center of our solar system. This is a linguistic expression. This is a picture of the actual object out there far away from us. And these are not the same thing. This means this, and this is referred to by this, but they're not the same object. And when we talk about the same thing in logic and in philosophy and in semantics, we mean it is exactly the same thing. It is not similar, it is not very close, it is not linked inextricably. It has to be exactly identical. And these are not exactly identical, these are not exactly identical any more than these are. So how do we get then from here to here? Where's the meaning? If this is the word and this is what it means, how do we get from one to the other? Well, for that, we use what's called an interpretation function. We'll talk more about functions, and that will make perhaps more sense after that. We'll talk about the term now. And essentially a function is kind of an algorithm, a machine. You feed it something, it gives you something else. In this case, you give it a linguistic expression, it gives you the meaning. Now for expressing an interpretation function, we use a double bracket, typically. And this double bracket just signals that this is the interpretation of Kansas, that is to say, the denotation of Kansas. And we'll read it like that. This is not Kansas, this is the denotation of Kansas. This is the sun. And this is not the sun. This is the meaning of the sun, the denotation of the sun. And these are not the same. You're not to mix them up. So this, the sun, the expression the sun is not this. The meaning of the sun is this. It is the thing, the sun itself. And we can express it that way. Likewise, the meaning of Kansas is this. Now, we don't have to always draw this out. We can write the word too. So instead of drawing the state of Kansas, we can write in meta language Kansas. Just like we can write out a proposition, we can write out this word, and it's the same thing here. And then here we have the sun. And this is one of the reasons why we want to keep these modes of expression distinct. So this is the meaning of the sun, and it is the sun. Of course, we don't distinguish that in our intonation. So the meaning of the expression the sun is the actual thing, the sun. And right, this is something else we have to watch out for. We don't want to ever do this, the meaning of the meta language, the sun. This doesn't mean anything, because this is not a linguistic expression. Linguistic expressions have meaning. The sun does not have meaning. The sun is a thing. It is not a linguistic expression. So it can't be fed into this function. So just to recap, linguistic expressions have denotations. We write these denotations by putting them in double brackets. Meta-language expressions are not linguistic expressions. They're just ways of expressing the actual meanings of things. When we talk about the meanings of objects, we're usually talking about the real-world thing that they refer to. And in that case, the linguistic expression is not equivalent to that thing, but the meaning of that expression is. And the meaning of a meta-language expression is nothing. There is no meaning for this because it doesn't mean anything. It's not a linguistic expression. So that's how denotation works. And this is a notation convention that you'll have to keep watching out for throughout the semester and the rest of your semantic life.